Hi all, welcome to session 32 of the Azure Data Factory. And in this session, we are going to take a look at our basic pipeline using lookup activity. Okay, so in this particular pipeline, we are going to perform three steps. There will be one configuration file which will hold various files that we want to copy. Then there will be a filter activity which will take input from the user. So the pipeline is going to copy only that file which will be given as an input by the user, and then there will be a copy activity that will do the actual copy. Okay, so we are going to make this particular pipeline from scratch, and this will give you a basic idea about lookup, how we use it in our pipelines. And then in the subsequent session we are going to make more and more changes to the existing pipeline to make it more complex. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going into my data factory resource group, and let's go to our data factory studio. So in the meantime, let me just go into my notepad and create few dummy files. Okay, so I'm going to say, let's suppose I think I need some dummy data, so let me copy the dummy data. Let's see if I can get any. Okay. Hmm. I think this should do. Okay, so let me copy it and put it in the notepad. Or rather, let me see if I can get some simple data. Otherwise, it is going to be a little complex for you. So let me get some CSV dummy data. Hmm. I think this should do. Yeah, this will work. Awesome. So we have customers, we have sales orders, okay, and then we have products. Okay. Now I'm going to use these three files, but let me just remove the header from this so that we are on same page for every file. We don't have any headers in any of the CSV files. Okay, so these are the three files we are going to use. Now let me go back into my resource group and into our ADLS Gen2 account in containers. Now in source, I'm going to put files here. So let me just remove the existing file. Let me upload the three files that we have chosen. So we have customers, we have products, and we have sales orders. Okay, so now we are good at the source. Now we have to create a configuration file. So let me open my Excel. Okay, and here I'm going to say file name, file location. So file name will be customers.csv, products.csv, and there was a third one which was sales orders.csv. Done. Now in file location, we are going to say it is inside source variable inputs. So I'm going to say source variable inputs. Let me remove this. I think we don't need this. It will be duplicate. Okay, so we are good here. Let me just save. So I'm going to say file details. Okay, now I'm going to save this file at a different location in our source. So let me just create one more add directory, configuration, and in configuration I'm going to store my configuration file which is in Excel. Let me see where it got stored. Okay, I think I stored it somewhere. Okay, it is in documents. Today we stored file details. Okay, let me close it and open. Okay, now we are good with our source files, we are good with our configuration. Now we can start working on our pipeline. Okay, so I'm going to go into authors and I'm going to say new pipeline. Since I'm making it from scratch, I'm not going to clone any existing pipeline. I will say PL lookup basics. Okay, now we need three things. We need a lookup activity, we need a filter activity, and we need a copy activity. Let me reduce it. We need a copy activity. Okay, now lookup will be connected to our filter and filter will be connected to copy. Let me auto align so that everything is looking okay. Yeah, so here I will say read file details, filter required file, copy required file. Okay, in filter let me just use the correct naming convention. Okay, now we have to start configuring our pipeline. So in the settings, since we are going to use our config file and the config file is in Excel sheet, we have to use the Excel dataset. Okay, so we cannot use already existing dataset, we have to create a new one. So I'm going to say it is Azure Data Lake where it is stored. So I'm going to say Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. It is in the Excel file. So I'm going to say dataset lookup config Excel. And for link service, since it is going to be the same data lake where we have stored our earlier files, so we can reuse our link service. Okay, here we have to choose the directory or the path where the config file is stored. So this is our configuration file. Okay, now I'm going to say index. Index is like what sheet you are going to use. So if I show you in the documents, file details, right now it is sheet 1. Okay, so I'm going to use the same name here. We can give a little more descriptive name, but right now we are going to use sheet 1. Okay, so I'm going to say name sheet 1. Okay, and first row is a header. Now if you say okay, and if you click on preview data, you will get the data also. Okay, there is only one. I think there is some problem, so let me just go ahead and fix it. Okay, got the issue. So here we are saying I think first row only, and that is why it is giving me the problem. Okay, so I have to remove this first row only, and let me just preview one more time. Yeah, so as you can see, lookup is picking all the three records which we have put in our configuration file. Okay, so the first step is ready. Now before we jump on to filter, let me just deactivate both, and we will see how the lookup is going to throw the output which we are going to consume in our filter activity. Okay, so let me just click on debug, and we will see once the pipeline is executed. Okay, as you can see, pipeline is successful and only lookup activity was executed. Now if you go and check the output of the lookup activity, you can see count is showing you how many records were picked up by lookup. So we have 3 records, so that is why count is 3. And now we are interested in this second attribute, which is value. So value is essentially giving you the content of the configuration file. So here you see you have an array of JSON objects where each object is representing one entry in that configuration file. So we have 3 objects in the array. Okay, rest of the things we are going to ignore for now. We are only interested in about interested in value. Okay, so we are going to pick the value in our filter activity. Now in the filter, what I'm going to do, I'm going to first activity, I'm going to first activate it, and here I'm going to say I want value. Okay, so value is going to give you that array, and the array we have 3 records. Okay, now we are going to check the condition. So condition is like, suppose I am the user, I am going to give an input which is going to be a file name that I want to copy using this pipeline, and lookup is going to check that particular name in the lookup in the configuration file, and if there is a file present in the configuration file with that same name, it is going to give the copy activity those details, and copy activity will run and pipeline will be completed. Okay, so based on the user input, if the file is present in the configuration, it is going to copy. Okay, that is the requirement. So here I have to use a condition where we are taking the input from the user. So for that I need a parameter. I'm going to say file name. For now I'm not keeping any default value, I'm just saying file name. And here if I go and you say condition, and now we have to use a function which is going to give you a equal operator. Okay, so let me just use equals. In the equals, I'm going to use item dot, what is the name of the column? File name, comma, parameter, file name. Okay, and I'm going to say done. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to run the pipeline again in the debug mode, and it is asking for a file name. So let me give a file name, products.csv, as an input. So I want to copy products.csv. Click on OK and let the pipeline run. As you can see, our filter activity was also successful, and it has given you a field filtered item count 1. That means there was one file with products.csv name in the configuration file. Okay, so now we are good with the first two steps. We are able to read the configuration file using lookup activity. We are going to check whether the file that has been given by the user is present in that configuration file that we got in lookup. And now the third step is going to be copy the file. Okay, so I'm going to go into copy data activity. I'm going to first activate it. In the source, I'm going to say I'm going to use already existing data set. So here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the file location. Okay, so in the file location, if you see, the container is going to be the first string before this slash. Okay, so I'm going to say filter file details, I think. Yeah, so let me just check the output of the filter and then we will move accordingly. So I'm going to get the value and file location. That is what I'm going to use. I need value, so I'm going to use return value. Name was right. Let me just see, double check it. So it was only value. Output, it was only value. Okay, I think I need to check what is the pipeline return value is. So let's just keep this thing as it is. Let me just deactivate the copy activity for a while, and let me use instead of this set variable. Okay, so I'm going to use set variable here. Let me just redirect it to here. Now in the set variable, I'm going to use filter output, and in the settings, since there is nothing, I'm going to click on add, and in the name I'm going to say filtered file, confirm. And here what I'm going to do, I'm going to get this return value as the value for this variable. Okay, so let me just validate everything is looking good, and let me debug. So I'm going to say customers.csv. I think this is also a name in the file. Yes, let's see. Yeah, so it is saying that available properties are item count, filtered item count, and value. So that means we were correct. We cannot use this. So let me just remove. Got it. Here what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into source in the container. I'm going to split, and in this split what I'm going to do, I'm going to pass the output dot value 0 dot file location. File location. Okay, so what it is going to do, the first thing it is going to do is it is going to get you the value, and we know that value is an array, so that is why we are going to pick first JSON object. From the first JSON object we are going to split the string of file location using the forward slash, and then we are going to use the first string, that is this one, the source. Okay, now I'm going to copy it because I'm going to reuse it here. Here instead of giving that, I'm going to say 1. And for file, again I'm going to do the same thing, but instead of using the split, I'm simply going to say output value file name. Okay, similarly in the sync, again I'm going to use the same thing. Here it is going to be sync variable output, and the name is going to be this name. So I'm going to keep the name same in source and sync, but I'm going to change the container and folder path. So as you can see, we have source and sync container. So I'm going to put the data in sync in the copy activity. Okay, everything is looking good now. Let me just validate. Yep. Now let me just go ahead and activate this. Validate copy runtime. Okay. Publish all. Publishing complete. So let's test the pipeline in the debug mode first. I'm going to use customers.csv, and let's see how the pipeline works. Lookup was successful. We got the customer.csv in our filter. Copy activity is in progress, and copy activity succeeded. Okay, so let's go into sync variable output. As you can see, we have customer.csv here. Okay, now suppose I want to use another file here. So instead of using customer.csv, if I want to trigger this pipeline for, let's suppose, sales orders.csv, the pipeline has triggered. Let's observe. Pipeline was successful, and you can see sales order.csv here. Okay, so the purpose of this session was to get you acquainted with how we can use lookup in the most basic way, in any pipeline. Now we are going to move into more complex applications of lookup activity in the future videos. And thank you so much, guys, for giving the honest feedback. I am overwhelmed by your support and your comments on the videos that I have made. There was a gap of a month because of some unforeseen situations, but I'm going to be regular after this. I'm going to put regular video sessions of Azure Data Factory. Please enjoy the videos and share your feedback so that I can improve. Okay, so that was all for today, and let's meet in the next session. Thank you.